Hi,
We're live.
everyone. Thanks for hopping on. We'll give everybody a chance to hop on here, so maybe another minute or so.
Nice. And Katie, you're in Austin, Texas, is that correct?
I am. I'm in Austin, Texas.
Nice. So is it 10 or 11 o'clock for you in the morning?
It is 11 here.
11 for you. It is 9 a.m. in the morning for me. I don't know how to see the chat. Let's see. Can people chat us? Let's see. What time is it for everyone? Where are people based? By the way, on my end, I can't see anything. It's only letting me look at the hosts.
Let me make sure before we get started. There we go. You should be able to now, everybody.
Okay, cool. Yeah, a few people said chat is disabled. Let's see.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Munich. Nice. Okay, Brooklyn, New York, Denver. Here we go. There's the people. I knew the people were here. Look at that.
Wow, all over it looks like.
It's amazing.
I love to see it.
Okay, I think the best thing about the group that it seems like is here is the chat is going to be super active. So I'm going to let you work on handling that because it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, I'll monitor the chat. On that note, if you guys have questions throughout, please drop them in the Q&A. I feel like they might get lost in the chat. So if they're in the Q&A, we can definitely address them. Okay, it looks like we have a good amount of people on, so we can go ahead and kind of get started. So first, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Katie Dieter. I'm an event marketing manager here at 8Fig, and I will be your host today with Chase. So again, thanks for joining us. So today's workshop is from email to sell, email strategies that guarantee sales success. And we have our amazing partner, Chase Dimond, with us. Chase is currently a partner at Structured, a top e-commerce marketing agency where he runs their email team. Since June of 2018, he's had his team and himself help send over 1 billion emails, resulting in over $100 million in email attributable revenue. I don't know why I just stumbled over that word so hard. A few of his previous clients and current clients include 8 Sleep, Health Aid, Poopery, Mixed Tiles, and many more. In today's workshop, he'll be sharing all his best email marketing tips and insights to help support your e-commerce business. We are thrilled to have him and have him join us today to do this workshop. Before I kick it over to him, just a few housekeeping things. If you do have questions, please drop them in the Q&A or in the general chat. And Chase will do his best to answer the questions kind of as we go along, and then we'll save some for the end as well. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Chase to get us started.
Sweet. And it's early, so I'm probably going to trip over my words too.
I don't even know why I just tripped over, just tripping over my words.
Well, I'm glad you did my slide. I really don't like talking to myself, so I know there's a slide on you guys. I'll take this one. So thank you guys, the Katie and 8Fig team for putting this together and letting me be here. Real quickly, for those that aren't familiar with 8Fig, you guys can see on my screen, and you guys have probably heard of them, but it's a great way to grow your e-commerce brand with kind of funding that is great for your company. So it allows you to take control of it, and the funding is super flexible. And it really allows you guys to use super cool tools that they have to help you visualize and master your business from a supply chain and a cash flow. So here are a couple of notes about their funding. And I know they've got some great people from their team in the chat. So if you guys ever have any questions, hit them up. But their funding's continuous, equity-free, cost-effective, flexible, and scalable. So that's them. And let's dive into today. She went through my bio. Here's our agenda. So today we're going to talk about email collection, flows, campaigns, a couple copywriting tips, and then we'll do some Q&A. So let's dive in. Just so we're all on the same page, I kind of wanted to align on the definitions. So when I talk about a campaign, I'm talking about a one-time send to a group of contacts. Think about like a holiday blast, some kind of promotional send, some kind of product launch, those types of things. The campaigns is a one-time send. And then flows, that's basically an email automation. Those are triggered every single time a person takes a certain action or a behavior occurs. So someone adds something to their cart, but they don't start checkout and they don't purchase and they're already on your list, that will fire an abandoned cart. And then someone enters their email into a pop-up or some kind of form, that will trigger a welcome series for non-buyers. And then the last one is a transactional email. It's just like a flow. It's like an automated email, but it's specifically for activities after people purchase. Think about things like order confirmation and shipping confirmation. So now that we got that out of the way, let's dive into email collection. And at the end of each section, so after email collection, after campaigns, after flows, I'll just make sure that we all understand, and I'll be able to take like 1 or 2 questions. So let's dive in. So with email collection, there's kind of 3 primary offers that we see in e-commerce. One is sign up. And that basically is something as simple as, hey, enter your email here to join our email list. You'll be the first to know about X, Y, and Z. And as you can see on the screen, this was some data that I pulled from Privy on 500 million signups. And they're basically saying that when your offer is just, hey, sign up, there's no coupon, there's no giveaway, there's nothing else, you can expect about 1 out of every 100 people that see it to give you their email. So it's a pretty low, pretty weak conversion rate. The next one, which is the most popular in e-commerce, is a coupon. So 5% off, 10% off, maybe a specific dollar amount off, $10 off, $20 off, whatever that might be. This is the most common and kind of the most popular. And this one typically converts about 5 out of every 100 people that see it will give you their email, right? Some people might be 3, some stores might get 10 people for this. The more you're testing, there's other things that go into it outside the offer, like behavior. Is it exit intent? Is it shown right away? Is it based off a scroll? But on average, based off 500 million people, about 5% of people will give you their email on a coupon. And then the last one is this whole enter to win. And the thing here, so say you're a company that sells apparel, you'll want to give away, apparel. You don't want to give away like an iPhone or a car or something unrelated, or else you end up with a bunch of people that are not really interested in what you do or what you sell. And with this one, it typically is about 10% of people opting in. So for every 100 people, you're going to get about 10 emails. A couple of other things here is make sure that if you do an enter to win on a weekly or monthly basis, that you actually draw it, that you let people know whether they've won or not. Otherwise, I find a lot of companies do this, but they forget to actually follow up. So they promise that they're going to enter people into this giveaway. And then maybe like 3 months later, they remember about it and then they do it. So if you're going to do this, you have to keep up with it. And let's kind of just elaborate on some of these, like the best practices. So on the left-hand side, this one that says CrossNet, that's a pop-up, right? Most people are familiar with this one. It takes over either a portion of the center of the screen or the entire screen. And the best thing here for desktop, the best behavior is showing this pop-up on exit intent. So when people are on your site, they're scrolling, as the browser notifies that they're about to leave, you'll want to use exit intent. Within Klaviyo, SendLane, whatever email platform you're doing, maybe a specific pop-up platform, they'll have exit intent as an option. On mobile for a pop-up, exit intent technology really isn't available. So we'll want to do what's called a scroll delay. So someone comes to your website, they scroll about half to 3/4 of your homepage, then they're going to get this pop-up. And this will only, in theory, if you did the right parameters, only show to people that are not already on your list. And then the next one is a flyout. So this is kind of on the right-hand side of the screen. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the bottom right-hand, it's a little bit less obtrusive. And it kind of just, as it says, flyouts, it kind of just comes from like the right-hand side of the screen and it kind of pops out a little bit to the left. And these are used less for email acquisition and more for acquiring additional data points on customers. So maybe you would show this to a specific segment of people that bought from you. And maybe you want to ask them like, hey, on your recent purchase, the next time they come back, did you buy it for yourself or for someone else? Or, what's your gender? Are you a male or female? And obviously in some cases, depending on what you sell, you'll notice whether someone's a male or female. If it's a clothing store and they maybe buy something for a woman, it's often either a woman or potentially someone buying for their sister, their wife, their mom, whoever it might be. So this is kind of the email collection piece. Did that make sense, Katie? I don't know if there was any questions. Anyone in the chat? Does that make sense so far? Before we go to the next section.
Any questions come through, but if anybody has a specific question to what he just talked about, feel free to drop them in the chat.
Cool. So it looks like someone said that made sense. Okay. And then, yeah, one other thing, it looks like a lot of people are messaging just the hosts and panelists. If you guys don't mind, if you guys post to just everyone, that way people can see whether they have the same question or not. So, all right, we'll go to flows. All right, so starting with flows, this might actually be potentially a good one to screenshot or pay attention to. I know they're going to get the recording, but this is kind of like a pretty decent list of like the main kind of core pre-purchase and post-purchase automations and flows. So typically on pre-purchase side, we're setting up things like welcome series for non-buyers, site abandonment, browse abandonment, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, and back in stock. So I'm not going to go through all of these. Some of them are self-explanatory, but for some of the ones that weren't as self-explanatory, you'll see in the next few slides a couple of those. But really quickly, so welcome series, they enter their email into a pop-up. They get a set of emails about your brand. The site abandonment through the abandoned checkout, those are the 4 abandoned flows. So there's going to be a slide where I show that, where at each point in the drop-off, you want to serve people content depending on where they're at in the funnel. Back in stock, I think that one's self-explanatory. I'll go through that in a little bit later. And then on the post-purchase side, after people buy from you, you've got things like customer thank yous, review requests, cross-sells, upsells, win-backs, and then breakup series. So let's dive into a few of these. So welcome series for non-buyers. Here's an example of a company that few people might know that I really like how they did these emails. From left to right is emails 1 through 4. So the first email is all about welcoming people to your brand. So they say, welcome to our brand. And they have this really cool kind of image that they're a cereal company, right? So it's this image that looks kind of captivating and interesting. And then they have this text here about, a little bit about who they are and kind of their mission. In their pop-up, they didn't give any offer. So that's why they're not delivering the offer in any of these emails. However, if you promise like a 10% off discount code, you want to deliver it in the first email. And then if they don't buy, you probably want to remind them throughout about the offer. So here they just say, hey, we set out this great cereal that's good for you, or at least better for you. That still tasted great. Try it now. And then the next email, right, is this kind of comparison of us versus them. Us, we have a thumbs up. We have 7 times less net carbs than everyone else, right? We have 3, other people have 27, so down. And without calling out specific people like, Fruit Loops or Captain Crunch or, Frosted Flakes, they're basically calling out kind of their competitors in the industry at just being really unhealthy. And then they talk about, right, like how they did it. They swapped out the usual junk. So really the goal of this welcome series is like talking about who you are, kind of how you're different. Email 3 is all about delivering social proof and kind of showing popular products. So these are some of their popular products in this image with this bottle. This actually was a GIF where the bottle would rotate. So it's kind of cool, caught your attention. And then they have just some really great social proof here from reputable magazines. And then they introduce themselves as founders. So at each point in this funnel, if someone converts after email 1, they would not receive the next 3 emails. Instead, they would be moved into the post-purchase. And that language and kind of that automation knowledge is pretty easy to set up in whatever your email platform is. So this is kind of a quick overview of the welcome series for non-buyers. And I want to spend more time kind of on this one. So we have the 4 abandonment flows. So we've got site abandonment, browse abandonment, abandoned cart, and abandoned checkout. So if we look at this pyramid, right, it's the reverse kind of upside down pyramid. The most number of people are going to be at the top on your homepage, and the fewest number of people are going to make it through and check out and buy from you. So at each step in the drop off, we want to serve people content. So right here where this box is, so if someone comes to the homepage or views the category page, but doesn't do any of these subsequent actions, we're going to send them what's called the site abandonment email. And I'm going to explain that in 1 second. However, if someone does these 2 things, but they view a product, but they don't do the next add to cart downward, instead of receiving the site abandonment, they're going to receive a browse abandonment, which is going to be specific to the product or the products that they viewed. However, if someone views a product but adds to cart, instead of receiving the site abandonment or the browse abandonment, they're going to receive the abandoned cart and so on, right? Abandoned checkout. So what we want to do is we want to prioritize the flow that's furthest down the funnel. And that's done through kind of flow filters. There's going to be logic that's baked in on your email platform that says, hey, for the site abandonment, if people have viewed it 0 times, if they've added a cart 0 times, if they've checked out 0 times, if they've placed an order 0 times, and if they haven't been this flow 30 times, we're going to send them this email. So for the site abandonment email, it's a little bit creepy. And this is one that's probably the least known, one of the lesser known ones. Most people know about the others. And what we're going to do here, so this is for one of our clients, this is real data over about a quarter, so about 3-month period. This first email we sent, and I'll show you the email in 1 second, had about almost a 69% open rate, a 4% click-through, 1.6% of people that received the email, not open, but received the email, placed an order for a total of about $74,000. So this email, it's very highly engaged, and there's a lot of volume because a lot of people are going to come to your homepage or your category page or an FAQ page, but not view product pages. So that first email went out, and I'll show you that in 1 second. The next one right? We basically sent one email a day later to anyone that didn't buy. And this one did another 56,000. So over the course of 3 months, by us adding this automation for one of our clients that gets a good amount of traffic, we did, I don't know, that's like $120,000 to $130,000 in revenue off of just 2 emails. And what does that email look like? So email 1, this one right here that says didn't find what you were looking for. This is the top half of the email. And then these is the bottom half of the email. Wouldn't fit on one slide, but what we're doing here is we're helping people focus on popular items that might help them potentially take action and move a little bit further down in the funnel. So at the very least, maybe people buy directly from the email. Like we saw 1.6% of people did on the first email, 1.4% of people did on the second email. At the very least, this is going to help move people into the browse abandonment and then the abandoned cart and abandoned checkout. So those flows and those automations will be able to do their work to help clean up and drive more revenue. And if people didn't basically purchase off this email, they'll get this second email. And this is just talking about like the quality and the standard and the guide. So that way you can help build that trust with the consumer that you're legitimate and that your products are good and there's really strong quality behind it. And then the back in stock. So I think this one is fairly straightforward in terms of like something goes out of stock, you have notifications set up, you send them an email about it. However, what I wanted to call out is most people do exactly what I just said, is they wait until the person's item's out of stock, they send them an email, and the email basically says, hey, your item is back in stock. And that email performs really, really well. Had 5.5% of people converting, and it did north of $53,000. However, what I want to talk about is almost like this back in stock confirmation. So what we do, and I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this or do this, is 5 minutes after someone subscribes to a back in stock, we'll send them an email. This email right here is for these results. It basically says, sorry, the item that you wanted is out of stock. While you wait, here's a discount on anything else that's currently in stock. And we could see this email performed almost as well in terms of a conversion rate as a percentage. And it actually drove more revenue because slightly more people received it. So this is almost like a back in stock confirmation email where we're letting them know, hey, sorry, it's out of stock. We'll let you know when it's back in stock. And in the meantime, here's a special offer. So this is a really important one that I hope you guys pay attention to. I got to imagine most people don't have this, and that's okay, because now you can go add this for your own store or for your client's store. And if you're an agency or a freelancer or a consultant, this is going to make you look great. And if you own a brand or you work for a brand, this is going to make your store or whoever you work for store a lot more money. Okay, I know that was a lot. I went through that kind of quickly. Katie, do we have any questions on that? Any of that stuff?
Yeah, so we had a couple in the chat. So Laura, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. She asked, how do you get the emails for that first segment? Just browsing your website. For GDPR, don't they have to opt in?
Yep, great question. Let me go back real quick. So, okay, so like for the site abandonment, the browse abandonment, and the abandoned cart, for those to trigger, someone has to already be on your list, and then you'll be able to track their behavior. So these three abandonments, they have to be on your list. With the abandoned checkout, they could either A, already be on your list, or B, they're going to enter their information, their email, their address, their phone number at checkout, which would then mean you can send them emails. So yeah, they do have to be on your list to receive these emails.
Thanks. We have another question. Syed, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. He is wondering if there's a specific email platform and what suggestions you have for a beginner.
Look, there's a lot of really great platforms. Klaviyo is a popular one. One that's really growing that a lot of people like is called SendLane. So if you want to ask me for intros after, I'd be happy to make intros and kind of give you my honest feedback on a few of the top ones.
Thanks. And then we have Sarah asking if there's a way to view some of these analytics that you've shown. Yeah,
so within Klaviyo, SendLane, et cetera, they all will track and they'll all tie into, in most cases, people are probably using Shopify or, WooCommerce or, Magento, BigCommerce, whatever. They'll all tie in and they'll pull directly from your store, things like revenue, and then the email platforms themselves, they'll be the ones that display the open rates, the click rates, the placed order rates, et cetera. So all of this stuff is done by default with most of the major platforms.
Awesome. And then one other question from Olivia, which I feel like you might touch on later, but any recommendations for adapting these email flows to software sales and marketing?
Yeah, it's a good question. 99% of my expertise is like e-commerce D2C. I think like some of the stuff is transferable, right? Like, welcome series of people opt into your list, or opt in for a piece of content, kind of nurturing them and engaging them with the brand. Depending on like what you're using and what you're tracking, there probably is some sort of abandonment. You probably don't have all of these, but you probably see people create an account or create a trial. They don't end up converting, right? So you would probably hit them with some information as well. So most of today is probably going to be geared towards e-com D2C, although there will be some things that are transferable and kind of universal depending on whether it's info products or SaaS or other.
Awesome. Thank you. I think you can continue and we'll touch on some of these other questions in a bit.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. All right. So that was kind of the pre-purchase side. Now the post-purchase side, here's just like a simple kind of customer thank you and a review request. So this is like a really nice use case for e-commerce to leverage plain text. Most of the emails that we create for our clients and most of the emails you see in e-commerce are pretty design heavy. This is a really nice way to kind of mix it up and incorporate plain text. So these are great emails from the founders or community manager or whoever the customer kind of facing lead is. These are great emails to come from them. So what we want to do for a customer thank you is basically after people buy, we want to thank them for their purchase. We want to let them know what it meant to us. And then if your product is something that requires some education, we want to teach them how to use this. So one of our clients that we used to work with is this company called Calming Blankets. They make like this really nice, weighted blanket. And what we found before we implemented these emails is their customer support was just bogged down with the same 3 questions. How do I use it? How do I know if it's working? Et cetera, right? Like there was a couple other questions that they would ask, but what we wanted to do is we wanted to get ahead of it. So while you wait for your order and thank you for your purchase, we wanted to share 3 ways in which you guys can use this and get the most success from it. One is to sleep with it. Here's some info on like what people do. We want you to use this as a blanket to calm down and ground, and you want to use like a warm hug. So by implementing this email and teaching people how to use it while they wait, we just pretty quickly like reduced our support tickets by like 50%. And they were getting thousands and tens of thousands of emails. So cutting it down by 50% was pretty drastic for them. And then another email we sent was, basically a review request. And this was you have to make sure that you send this after people have received it. Far too often you see brands sending emails to people asking if they liked a product before they've even received it. It's like, well, what are you supposed to do or say? Like you haven't even received it. So you really want to make sure that you wait until people have received the item before you ask them for feedback. So this just says, hey, this guy's Davey. I'm the founder. We take this very serious. It would mean a lot to us if you gave us a 5-star review. Go here. And by the way, like us on Facebook, engage with us there, and also check us out on Instagram. So just a really great way to reduce buyer's remorse, connect with the community, and just provide education and ask for a review. And then cross sells and upsells, right? So the easiest way to make more money is to sell more things to people that have already bought. The likelihood of selling to someone that's bought from you is like 4 or 5 times greater than it is to sell to someone for the first time. So here are just kind of 2 different emails that we send for one of our clients. This first email just says, hey, we appreciate you. And while you wait for your wallet, here's some other things that we think you might like. And then this is another email that people get if they don't buy that just says, hey, if you're ready for less bulk, here's some other things that you might like. So they sell wallets in kind of different goods and cases. So you want to sell people related items that are complementary or similar to the item that they have that they didn't already buy. Okay, those are kind of quick. Did we have any questions on maybe either of these, or maybe people had questions from the first round that I didn't get to?
Yeah, we just got a question come through and it's asking how to make sure the emails with a lot of images, as you've shown, are not showing up in spam.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's like this myth that just because you have images, like you're going to be in spam. That's one of, I think, the components that, factor into the deliverability, but it's not the only component. They really care about other things. Like, are people engaging with your emails? Are they, forwarding? Are they clicking? Are they opening? Are they marking as spam? Are the emails bouncing? So there's a lot of other factors that are, equally as important. But if you are using images, ideally, you're not using like one single image for the entire email, right? Ideally, you have kind of a mixture of like, 60 to 40% text versus images. And hopefully the images are basically really lightweight. So what I mean is like you want to compress your images. A lot of these image files or these GIF files end up being really heavy, where like the gigabytes or the megabytes end up being really high. you want to go and use, there's a bunch of free tools out there. I think even Google has a free tool called like Squish app or something, where you can go in and you can press the images and they don't really lose any of the quality, but the image itself will load a lot quicker and be a lot lighter. So you just want to kind of pay attention to like the image and file size and making sure that you also have like live text within the email, not just entire, image-based email.
Awesome. We had one other question, kind of going back to the out of stock emails. And it's from Ryan, and he says, now giving customers subscribing to out of stock notification a special discount is great. Is this set up on Shopify or Klaviyo?
So with the collection of the people that want to be notified, like that would be like maybe like a Shopify app or some kind of app. And then with the actual delivery of the emails, like the one I showed, let me go back to that real quick. With the email itself that I showed you and kind of the analytics, where is that? This was all sent from Klaviyo, SendLane, etc. So you collect the info through some kind of probably Shopify app or theme or whatever. And then the email itself that we're seeing here is delivered through your actual email platform.
Awesome. And going back to a question, I think from the previous section, but someone was wondering if you have a suggestion for a platform as far as actually designing the email and then importing it over to a platform like Klaviyo.
Yeah, I'd say like most people are probably using something like a Figma. I think Figma is pretty popular. Other people are using things like Photoshop, Illustrator, Canva, etc. So I think it all comes down to preference, but my team really likes Figma.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we'll let you keep rolling. There's some questions kind of coming in, but we'll get to those in a bit.
Awesome. And I think we're about halfway through. So I'll try to go through some of this stuff quickly so that way we can have more time at the end for questions.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So campaigns. Wrong way. Okay. So these are actually some emails that we created for our client called Fly by Jing. What I really like about these, and I guess kind of like taking one step back, like a lot of people ask me like what makes a brand good or what makes a brand different than the competitors. And I think like it's a couple of things. I think one is like being authentically yourself is important and like really genuinely, having a stance. It doesn't mean you have to be polarizing. It doesn't mean you have to be, annoying, but like having like a stance and opinion and just really leaning into like who you are and having that come through the brand, I think is really important. That's how you build like a tribe and a community of people that are really loyal and part of it, where they can kind of raise their hand and be like, yeah, I really like this vibe and I really like the mantra and I really like this, appeal of this brand. And one of the things I think that this company does really, really well, Fly by Jing, and we can't take too many credits. We obviously do their emails, but their branding on their website is just so cool and amazing, and they're fun and they're different, and they're just kind of edgy, right? Like we're kind of dark and edgy. So if that's you, lean into it. And if it's not you, that's okay too. There's other ways to kind of compensate for it. But I just really love the emails that we create for them and some of the other clients that like are like this. So with this, these are product launch emails. Everyone loves the latest and the greatest. So people are always buying new product launches. It's a really great way to get people to buy from you time and time again. And it's potentially a really good way to get people to buy from you for the first time, right? So with these, here's just kind of like a silly, they make like dumplings and kind of other things, and they made merch for it, right? So they got rid of like their dumplings and instead they did like a farewell kind of tour merch where they're saying this is the last bag, and they sold you like a shirt, right? And then instead of saying like all you need is love, they're saying all you need is cake. So these are kind of just really cool emails that introduce a new product or a new product line. You can also do this for like a collection that get really high engagement. Like these emails get lots of click through and really strong conversion. And even before this, like if you want to hype the product launch with a plain text email or a nicely designed email, maybe covering out and blurring out what's actually launching, you might want to send that like a day or a couple days before and really hype it up so you get people excited and you get them checking an email. So for me today, it's 9:30 a.m. PST. I might say it's something like yesterday, as Tuesday, hey, tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. PST on Wednesday, we're dropping this really cool new product to say farewell to our dumplings. Keep an eye on your inbox then. We have limited quantity, or obviously, right, if you do have limited quantity, say that. If you don't say that. So product launch emails are a great way to drive revenue and engagement. The next email I want to talk about is a collection launch. So the same thing as a product launch, but instead of just launching a single thing, you're launching multiple things. So this email that we created for our client, the same client, the left-hand side is the top half of the email. The right-hand side is the bottom email. So it's just like this really cool visual email that people want to look at and they want to save. And it's kind of this experience that we're creating in the inbox, where it's the taste of the year, right? They did stuff around kind of like, the holidays and whatnot. And then they just introduced really coolly and kind of visually some of their new stuff that they got. The hot pot starter set, the add oil duo, the year of taste box, right? So just these emails get people really excited and get people to engage and forward to a friend and get people to reply. At the very least, maybe they just say, I like your email, which helps with your deliverability. Back in stock. So we talked about back in stock as an automation where people are actually like opting in to receive notification. In this case, this is a campaign. So we're telling people and we're pushing to them saying, hey, this email or this product, I should say, is back in stock. In this case, our client brought back these two products. So this left-hand side is the top half, right-hand side is the bottom half. We're just saying these emails are great ways to kind of introduce items that are back in stock. We ran out of them before. There's a chance we're going to run out of them again. Go buy them now while you can. And going back to the point I mentioned before, like look at the names like Big Boy and King Zong, like, and the images, like this company is just really, really weird, but in a good way. They're really fun and people just really dig it. So back in stock. And with that, so the team from AFIC kind of provided me with some statistics. So 61% of businesses globally revealed that they have struggled with cash flow. So a lot of businesses struggle with cash flow. It's hard for them to keep inventory. It's hard for them to finance the next round. So if you guys have any questions about how 8Fig can help brands like yours or maybe clients like yours, make sure that you guys don't have things that go out of stock. Although it's great to send the back in stock emails and it's great to do those types of things, you would probably make a lot more money if your items just stayed in stock. So you guys need kind of cash flow and for the inventory demanding and planning and supply chain and all of that, hit up 8Fig. There's their team in the chat, or maybe just reply to the email that they send with the recording later and let them know if you guys have any questions. I believe if you're doing over $100,000 a year, you could be a great fit for them. Okay, so back to the programming. So best sellers. Again, just like product launches and collection launches, best sellers do really, really well. These are items that clearly are popular and people want the best thing. They want the thing that other people have and they want to be, engaged and involved and get the things that you recommend. So here's an email that we did for our client that's Ondar that sells wallets and whatnot. At the end of last year, we just basically did like a year-end recap where these were the best 3 selling products or whatever for our customers. So here's the Apollo, here's kind of some of the features and the benefits, here's the Ranger, same thing, and then here's this. So you could do like best sellers of the month, bestseller of the quarter, bestsellers of the year, things that are selling quick. So these types of emails just inherently have baked in social proof that allow you to sell through the products. So really like the theme of this conversation today is like what you can do to drive more sales and more conversions, in a way that's kind of direct, like, hey, buy this, buy that, and also ways that are indirect. By just telling people that these are best-selling things, the social proof and that aspect of like, oh, I got to have this too, is inherently baked in to the psychology. So holidays, we work with a client called Poopery. They make a spray for the bathroom. Here was an email we just did for Mother's Day where we did like 40% off Mother's Day exclusive. And we just sent like this cool email kind of just highlighting things that, your mom or, maybe your wife or whoever, your spouse, whoever, they might enjoy. So just a great way to constantly stay top of mind for your guys' audience and also potentially deliver them a discount if that's on brand. With the clients that we work with, there's 3 categories. One that always discount, ones that never discount, doesn't matter if it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and some that are in the middle where they understand that discounts can help move the needle, but they want to use it more selectively. So holidays are a great way though to wish your audience and stay connected. Any questions there, Katie, that we want to go through?
Yeah, we got a lot of questions, some relating to this past section and some relating to previous sections, but I will start with Heather asked, how about subject line suggestions for the product launch emails?
Yeah, it depends on like what it is. I think like if it's like a hype email, if it's the actual launch, if it's a collection launch, there's a lot of good subject lines that I have and I can share. So for the interest of time, because I'd have to just make some up on the spot. If you want to reach out to me, send me an email or a DM or reach out to the AFIC team, I'd be happy to share a couple that we've used that we've had success with. not to be too promotional, but I have a weekly newsletter that goes out every Monday, where every week in that section, I share like a top performing subject line and a preview text, in the relative like open rate and click through rate. So I'd be happy to kind of pick through some of those and share some of the past ones.
Amazing. Thank you. Our next question is from Bree, and she said, would a product launch sneak peek email and the real launch email fall under a campaign or a flow?
Yeah, those would be campaigns, because like we would basically be pushing to our list something that we want them to know about. That would be a campaign. The flow would basically be if they took some kind of action or behavior, that would then automatically trigger an email. So we have a pop-up on our website. If someone enters their email in their pop-up, that will then send the automated welcome series email. If someone receives an email for the product launch as a campaign, they click through, they add to cart, they don't buy, them taking those actions from our email will then trigger the abandoned cart. Hopefully that makes sense.
For sure. Thank you. And then we have a couple questions from Emma. I might just like kind of combine both of hers, but she asked, how do you account for dark mode if you're not using full image based emails? And then she asks, what are your thoughts on nav bars in the emails? Are people moving away from this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let's see, the nav bar, like again, it depends. Most of the stuff that we do, like you can see here, here, like most of the stuff that we do, because it's pretty custom, and like it's very design focused. We don't, as you can see, like we haven't used one nav bar. Not that it's bad or good. We just haven't noticed like a massive difference by having it. So I don't think it's bad to have it. I don't think it's good to have it. I think it's just like a preference if you want to have it and you have things. Most cases though, we're moving away from it. I don't have tons and tons of data on what we're missing out click wise by potentially not having it. It more just is like based off the style that we design. It doesn't really tend to fall kind of into place. So that was the nav bar. So I guess it's kind of TBD up to the whoever's creating the emails, and maybe worth testing potentially. Dark mode's kind of a tricky one. Truthfully, I'm not as much on the design side, so I don't exactly know what our team is doing there. I don't know if like they're like custom coding some stuff and whatnot, but dark mode's tricky. I know our team for a long time was kind of struggling with it. I haven't kept as much in the know specifically on that one, so I don't honestly know that one.
No worries. We can find an answer for them and figure that one out. We do have one other question. So for clients who never discount, what are your best suggestions to help email list members see the value in being on the list and prevent them from unsubscribing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when you think about like the higher end brands that don't do discounts, like they're really leading a lot of times with like exclusivity or limited drop. So I think like you have to leverage like other psychological elements. So if you're not doing discounts, like think about it is more like, it's probably even more like a business model thing where it's like, if you think about like Supreme or the Hundreds or certain brands that do like these really kind of sacred launches where they sell out pretty quickly, just like that allure of like, oh man, there's not a whole lot of these, I really need to be engaged. And how do you stay engaged? As you typically stay engaged through email or SMS. I think that, I think also like leaning into like lifestyle, like creating content for the lifestyle and being really like engaging, probably having like a strong community. So I think aside from discounts, it's like leveraging content and limited quantity and kind of exclusivity and other things that maybe you have at your disposal. Hard to say like specifically for your use case without knowing exactly like what your client does or doesn't or the price points. But I think those types of things, and it just takes like more emails and kind of more touch points to build that trust to get people to make a purchase at full price, especially if it's expensive. Like it's not the same because they do use discounts, but one of our clients is a company called 8 Sleep. They're selling like $2,000 to $4,000 mattresses. Like it's taking a lot of ads and a lot of emails and a lot of SMS and a lot of touch points and a lot of content and a lot of incorporating celebrities and influencers into the mix to really build that trust and get that purchase. We do use some discounts. That being said, like the discounts aren't substantial enough where like, if you're gonna pay $3,000, like they'll sometimes discount it like $100, $200. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like if you could pay $3,000 or $2,800, right, you could pay full price. Most of it is just kind of like leaning into, the cool things about the brand. They're the Tesla for mattresses, and just kind of focusing on like the branding. I would kind of lean more into that angle.
Cool. Thank you, Chase. I think we can keep moving. And again, we'll have some time for questions in the next section.
Cool. All right. So this is going to kind of just be like some fast fire email tips and tricks. So here, this is kind of some cool stuff that we're doing that I haven't seen a lot of other people doing, is we're going kind of wild and crazy with like the styles and the shapes and the sizes of sign-up forms. So in the beginning, I kind of talked about offers and I showed kind of pop-ups. So these are pop-ups, but we're just being really funky. And these were two ones that we actually created for our clients. To be honest, I have no clue how our team did it. I'm not on the design side, I'm more like on the revenue strategy kind of execution side. But we've been creating like these really funky, cool squares, circles, stars, as an example. And we've been noticing that the more unique the shape is, and the more unique and different the colors and just everything about it is, the higher the submission rate. And you want to test different shapes and sizes on desktop and mobile, because different things are going to look better, different things are going to render better. So the more interesting and unique you guys can be with your pop-ups, with your emails, with your ads, your whatever that might be, the more of an impact it has. And the sooner you do this, the better. When everyone's doing this, it's going to have less of kind of like an allure or effect. But the fact that we're probably few people out of anyone doing it, maybe I haven't seen anyone do this. I look at like e-commerce sites for a living. It works better the sooner you implement these types of things. Okay, the snooze button, right? So how do you keep people on your list, but maybe they want to take a break? This is a snooze thing where essentially what happens is you add to the bottom of your email, do you want to take a break from our emails? Snooze my email for 2 weeks or snooze for a month. We've tested a bunch of things, but the snoozing of emails for 2 weeks or 4 weeks has been the best. And essentially what happens is once they click that, they get entered into a segment. And that segment's automatically going to be dynamic and uploading and updating, by the minute or by the day. So what you basically do is you set a campaign, you send it to your engaged people, you use this snooze people as an exclusion. So you send to the people that are engaged, you exclude the people that don't want to receive it. And then after 2 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on what they indicated, they'll automatically get back into the mix. So by us doing this, we implemented this right around like August, like right around here. So like this was like when they had a really high peak. We did it like right around like end of August, early September. The unsubscribes went down pretty greatly. So this is something that's been really effective to basically preventing the unsub. Wish list. So we added just like a Shopify app for some of our clients that we've consulted with and work with, just this button where people can basically heart it, and that allows them to create this wish list. And we basically send them an email later saying, we'd like you to meet someone. And this is a really funky example, but this was for one of our clients that sells predominantly to men. And they basically say, hey, this is Craig. He's your very own hairy fairy. And if you sell to women, don't do this, right? Maybe you just do like a normal fairy, or maybe you don't have a fairy at all, but they kind of wanted to just be funny and funky. And we sent this email, and allows people to receive a list of things that they wanted to buy themselves, or a list that they could share to a loved one or a friend or whoever, of things that they might want for their birthday, Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day, etc. So this is a great way to get people to tell you what they're interested in and be able to remind them and send them something that they could share or keep for themselves. And I'm going kind of quick. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I want to get through this and then we'll field some questions. But use quizzes to personalize flows. So right now in the world that we live in, the more zero-party and first-party data you can collect, the better. So you want to set up like quizzes or forms using something like an Octane AI, Typeform, SurveyMonkey, Google Forms, like whatever you want to do. And this is a really great way to help people understand like what products are probably the most relevant for them. So you want to build out an automation based off of their answers that recommends them product-specific benefits. So if they need this product versus that product, having emails that say, hey, for this product, these are all the benefits. Here are the user reviews and testimonials for this product. And here's some education that you should know about this product. So here's an example from our client Poopery. They basically took out this survey to try to find the perfect kind of scent for them. And then we basically say, hey, if you want to see the results and save and get 20% off, click here. So this was a really successful email because they have tons of different scents for their bathroom. How do we help them find the 1 or 2 scents that are most relevant or potentially most interesting? And then it's really important that you create personas for your team to build these one-to-one relationships. So email obviously inherently is a one-to-many channel, but you want to make it feel one-to-one. You want to make it more personal, and obviously that will perform better. So what we basically do is for, let's say, our VIP customers, we create this relationship that more often than not, they're receiving special emails and perks from like a founder, where they get to build that relationship with the founder, where every time they see something from him, they know it's going to be early access or an MVP offer or some kind of feedback request or an invite into an event or a community. And then for other people, right, like we'll incorporate, like for one of our clients that we worked with, we'll incorporate like a doctor. So for anyone that maybe didn't buy, we'll send them emails from like this resident doctor, and that will help build trust and kind of create this voice. So that way they build this affinity towards your brand. And then the next one is like building segments based off of what your audience clicks on. The likelihood that people are telling you their preferences on a preference page is very, very slim. So we want to look at their behavior. And oftentimes, right, like going back to like the whole Henry Ford quote, he says like, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, or instead they really wanted like a vehicle to get from point A to point B more efficiently. So he invented a car. It's the same thing that's true. Like you ask people what they want and what they like, and they obviously have some indication, some thought, but more often than not, they don't entirely know. But when they click, that's the source of truth. What they're clicking on is they're basically raising their hand and saying, I vote and I'm interested in X, Y, or Z. So building those, click-based segments for people clicking on new product launches or promotional offers or blog launches to send them more of the same emails in the future is a really great way to drive engagement and revenue. Okay, that was kind of the end of that section. Then I wanted just to talk about call to actions. Katie, should I finish just the next few slides?
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead and finish up because I think we're at Q&A next. So we'll get to all these questions soon.
Amazing. Okay, so call to actions. I think there was something before around subject lines, and I think there might have been something before about call to actions. I have 3 slides on call to actions because your CTAs for emails, SMS, ads, blog posts, like whatever it might be, these are some of the most important things that you do to drive that click to whatever it might be. So the goal here and kind of some of the examples is like the more specific and kind of benefit and action oriented you can make your call to action, the better. So instead of saying like buy now is just so overly done. You might want to say something like get your product now and receive free shipping. Instead of saying add to cart, you might want to say, hey, secure your item before it's gone. Instead of just simply saying sign up, it's like, well, what am I signing up for? You're signing up to receive exclusive deals and discounts. Instead of just saying join today, you want to incorporate social proof. So become part of 5,000 plus happy shopper community. Instead of saying subscribe, it's like, okay, like what am I subscribing to? You're subscribing to get updates on new arrivals and sales. The more specific you could be and the more value and benefit oriented, the more clicks you're going to drive, which in theory, the more money you should be able to make. So again, kind of doubling down on this point, like don't just use buy now call to actions, like, expand on it. So a couple of ones that you could use depending on how many characters you have could be something like get started. But a better version of get started, if you have more characters, is, start your journey to better style. That's great for like an apparel brand. Instead of just saying like, buy now, you might want to say like get yours today. But if you have more room, secure your limited edition item today. Join the family, join our community of satisfied customers. Get insert benefit. So get high quality design and comfort now. And then get rid of problems. So say goodbye to boring outfits. So if you do this right, it's going to be way more effective. And then the last one before I kind of close out and we go solely to Q&A for the last 10 minutes is, here's like kind of the difference between like a good and a bad call to action. So starting with kind of, a bad call to action, they focus on what the user has to do. Whereas a good call to action focuses on what they get. So buy it today. It's like, okay, sure. But instead of that, it's like start enhancing your style today. Instead of saying sign up for free, it's like, okay, I have to sign up. Like get exclusive fashion tips every Monday. Instead of saying start free trial, let's get full access to premium catalog for 7 days, no credit card required. So the bad call to actions make it seem like a chore. It's like you have to do this, you have to do that. Whereas the good call to actions, they focus on like, if you do this, here's what you're going to get. So thank you guys for, listening to me. I know that was quick. Let's do some Q&A.
Amazing. I'll hop back on camera here. Hello. Yeah, so we got lots of questions. So I'm just going to kind of run through them. They won't be in any particular order. So here we go. Let's see. Okay, we had a question about any tips to use email to promote luxury products in high ticket boot camps or workshops.
Yeah, I think kind of going back to the example I mentioned where like I talked about like how brands leverage email when they don't want to use discounts. It's the same type of thing, right? Like you use email and SMS and these contents as a channel to communicate trust and value. So the more value you can provide, and the fewer the ask, when you actually ask for something, people are going to show up. Like, not to talk too much about myself, but like, for example, I try to always deliver value. So when I tell people I'm going to do something, they sign up. Like we had about 1,000 people sign up for this today. So it's like the same type of thing. Like when you deliver value and you're just focused on giving, when you have an ask, hey, sign up to my workshop, sign up to my webinar, buy this product. Obviously, there's no guarantee. There's still a lot of people that are going to ignore it, but you're going to build like that. I guess that kind of good rapport and that trust and that credibility over time. So sharing educational content, blog posts, answering questions of the community, inviting people to participate in discussions. The more things like that you can do to foster a community where you're adding value, the easier everything gets.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think providing value is really important for sure. Okay, next question. We had 2 questions kind of similar about Klaviyo. Gabriella wants to know if you can create funky pop-ups in Klaviyo. And then we also had a question about if you can change the pop-up shapes in Klaviyo.
So I truthfully don't know how our team is implementing the funky kind of pop-ups. I don't know if that's native to Klaviyo or if that's like a third party like builder. Like there's like one called like Amped and there's just Uno. I don't exactly know. I could ask how we're doing it. I figured that was probably going to be a question that we had, but I didn't have time to ask. So I'll have to ask. I don't know how we're doing it. I don't know if it's custom coded or hard coded or if it's kind of through like an app like that.
Okay, cool. We'll try to find that answer.
I apologize. I'm going to be honest if I don't know the answer.
You're good. No, everyone doesn't know everything, so it's fine. Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, we have lots of questions, kind of fielding through them. Okay, so going to the CTAs that you just mentioned, I had a couple of questions. Someone was wondering if it's a good idea to have that much copy on a CTA button. And then someone else said, these would be large CTAs if actual buttons. What are your ideas, or are your ideas better suited for plain text email or for those buttons?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of like what I do like on my personal brand is like plain text, and a lot of these call to actions end up being kind of long. Like for example, this past week I think I wrote like an article or something about like 10 copywriting tips or frameworks or something. So I wrote something like the call to action was like probably like a sentence long. Like it was pretty long, but it captured really like the point that I wanted to get across. So for buttons themselves, like yeah, you have probably a little bit less real estate potentially. So I wouldn't have like a sentence necessarily, but let me see if I can go back to some of the examples. That's fine. Like snooze my emails for 2 weeks. Like, I mean, I guess that's like a little bit long, but not terrible. I'm just trying to see if any of these are long by now. Claim discount. Yeah, so I guess like a lot of these were shorter. These were kind of more, but I don't think there's anything wrong with them being a little bit longer if they still look good and they're kind of within the format. But yeah, I'd probably like that sweet spot between like a buy now and then maybe something that I shared that was, maybe like a sentence. And you have to just test it too. Like for example, like some of these, they can get a little bit long, but these are also things that could potentially work like on a blog post or as like a CTA potentially like on social, things like that. So you have to find that maximal length. But for the plain text stuff, yeah, like it can be just as long.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Got lots of questions. So we'll try to get through as many as we can here in the next like 5-10 minutes. So our next question, what tools do you use to send quizzes? Can you do this within the CRM so follow-ups are automatic based on the answer?
Yeah, for like the quizzes and the forms, like we're typically using like an Octane AI or like a Typeform. And then we're just tying the data either natively or through like something like a Zapier into like a Klaviyo, SendLane, whatever your email platform is. So that way people's properties are updating in their profile and then you can trigger events and kind of automations based off of that. So yeah, we're using typically like a third-party tool, like I mentioned, and then we're passing that data into the email platform. And then we have the automations set up based off the logic to deliver the content. So like, for example, if I go back to like that email from Poopery, let's see. Like this is an email that was set up within Klaviyo itself or SendLane. And then we just deliver this after we pass through the results.
Great, thank you. All right, a couple more. Someone asked, do you recommend adding poll questions in the flows?
Poll questions in the polls. Let's see. So one thing that we've done in the, sorry, let's see. Sorry, I look randomly. And by the way, here is, while I know we have like 3 minutes, like here is my website for my agency, or just feel free to ping me directly. And here's like the 8 Figs QR code as well. But while I'm answering that, so it depends. Like one of the clients that we worked with in the past was this company called The Chive, and they had an e-commerce store called The Chivery, and they must have thousands and thousands of SKUs. But what I realized is like all the SKUs fall into, let's say, like 9 or categories. I think it was maybe a little bit more. But what we essentially did in one of the welcome series emails is we had basically tagged the images and the buttons that when someone clicked on whatever category they were interested in, we would automatically tag their profile saying, Katie liked movie t-shirts and Chase liked sports t-shirts. So we kind of were quizzing or polling people within an email necessarily without them knowing. All we basically said is like, hey, Katie, thanks for joining our list. We wanted to share like our 9 most popular categories of items that we think you'd like. Feel free to browse and check them out. So we were pulling Katie by having automatically tagging these links to her profile saying, Katie clicked on this. And then we could kind of personalize content and flows for her in the future. And then other times, like for example, in one of my welcome emails, I straight up asked people, hey, Katie, I know you're new here. So I can better serve you content and understand who you are. Do you mind clicking one of the options below? And it'll say, I'm an e-commerce brand. I'm an Amazon brand. I'm an agency. I'm a freelancer. So I'm kind of just telling people, hey, click the option within the email, and then I will be able to tag you based off of that and send you guys relevant content.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, we have 3 more questions, and then I think we're going to wrap it up here. So we had one question. Sarah says, I have a lot of questions around segmentation based on content as well as engagement. Curious how detailed you get with your segmentation strategy and how that all feeds into your send cadence, marketing calendar. Any resources would be much appreciated.
Yeah, it's a good question. Most of the lists that we work with are like minimum of like 25,000. They go upwards to like, a couple million. So like for us, like it's not typically a problem when we get a little bit granular segments. I think for some of the smaller lists, it's hard where it's like, you don't want to go so granular that you only end up mailing like 10 people or 50 people, right? So you kind of have to like factor like this risk reward where you want to segment enough where you can be hyper personalized, but not so much that you're speaking to like 2 people. So, but again, I don't know what list sizes you work with. So you kind of have to find that balance between trying to make sure that the work that you're going to do, because, writing the copy and designing these emails, it's a lot of work. You want to make sure that the work that you do can potentially back out in terms of an ROI. So you just have to find like that sweet spot between segmenting enough versus over segmenting. I think it's easy to not segment at all or to over segment, right? It's a little bit harder to find like the in between, but just focus on like the whole 80-20 rule, right? Like what are the 20% of things that you're going to segment that produce 80% of the results?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Okay, 2 more questions. We'll be quick. What is the frequency of campaigns you would suggest depending on the size of your list? And what is the best way to warm up your new Klaviyo account?
Yeah, I'd say like, for brands that are maybe doing $100,000 a year or less, maybe like 1 campaign a week probably makes sense. I think like 100,000 to 500,000, maybe you're sending like 2 campaigns a week. I think like 500,000 to $1 million, maybe you're sending like 2 to 3 campaigns a week, and I think like $1 million plus, million, 5 million, 10 million plus, you're probably sending in the ballpark of 3 to 5 campaigns a week potentially. And then the best way to warm up an email account is by starting with the high engaging flows. So things like the welcome series, the abandoned carts, and the customer thank yous. Then sending campaigns to your 30-day engaged, your most engaged people, and kind of starting like that.
Great, thank you. Okay, and our last question, which I think is a good one to kind of wrap up our workshop here. Someone asked, if we walk away remembering one thing from this workshop, what do you want that to be?
One thing, that's a great question. I'd like to think I said more than one thing that was important, but if I just said one thing that was important, I don't know. I think the most important thing with email is like there's no silver bullets. It really takes ongoing, consistent effort and you have to do a lot of things well. You have to be good at collecting emails. You have to be good at, sending emails to those people. You have to be good at segmentation, good at deliverability. So I think like just understanding that there's like no silver bullets, and that like email takes some time and it takes some work, and that you have to be patient, and you really need like a well-rounded approach to do it well. I think a lot of times people come to me and they're like, hey, what's that one thing I need to do that's going to make me successful? And there's not normally one thing, it's normally a lot of things. So I know that doesn't necessarily answer the question, because that's a couple things, but that's probably my answer.
Love it. Cool. I feel like that was a good way to kind of end the workshop. Chase, thank you so much for being here with us and doing this workshop. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. We really appreciate you guys. Chase, do you have any kind of last words or?
No, AFIG, thank you guys for putting this together. There's their QR code. If you need any introductions, reach out. If you have any questions for me after, let me know. And I'm sure we'll probably do more of these in the future. So thank you guys all.
Yeah, and on that note, like he said, if we didn't get to any of your questions, we will be doing more of these with Chase, so stay tuned. In the meantime, you can check out 8fig.co and Structured Agency, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.